Many were surprised to see Darth Renovator on 60 Minutes. You know, 1 year after suing 60 Minutes for editing an interview, Trump sits down with 60 Minutes for an edited interview. Norah O'Donnell pressed the president on a number of issues, but his message was clear. Me, good. Biden, bad.
They've seen their grocery prices go up, inflation.
No, you're wrong. They went up under Biden. This was because of Biden. We've accepted all of these people because of Biden's open border policy. I put tariffs on China, but Biden let it lapse. What Biden did to our country should never, ever be forgotten. That was Joe Biden's war, not my war. We have no inflation. Biden had inflation and he didn't have tariffs. Look what happened to our country by having Biden as the president. Our country went to hell.
Yes, it did. And you were the Uber driver who brought us there.
I'm feeling, listen, there's nothing I can do about anything until I know what there is something to do something about.
Yeah.
So I am not going to give any more angst or uncomfortableness, but I will point something out. And I'm reluctant to do it, but I have to. And that is this. When we showed that piece of him with the microphone yesterday,
Yeah.
it bothered me all day and I couldn't figure out why, and I figured it out this morning. I don't want to hear any more parents out there nervous about what their children are being taught.
Oh, yeah.
Frightened by drag queens reading books to your kids. If what you saw him do did not disgust you enough to protect your kids,
Yeah.
I don't want to hear from you anymore.
Yeah.
State regime media, which calls itself Fox News, continues to collapse live on air for us all to watch, and the Midas Touch Network is living rent-free in their head. Yep, the Midas Touch reports on Donald Trump's deteriorating physical and mental condition is now at the forefront of a lot of corporate news reporting on Donald Trump as well. People were paying attention at Donald Trump's cabinet meeting that he had over the fact that Donald Trump kept on falling asleep over and over again, as the Midas Touch pointed out before. Now, on state regime media, their dear leader can't be falling asleep during cabinet meetings, so they had to come up with ways to justify it. They were like, Thomas Edison had his power naps. Getting MRIs randomly over and over again, that's just part of an executive schedule now. Yeah, it's normal for executives just to get MRIs of their abdomen. Newsflash, no it isn't, but I want you to watch. Whereas on Midas Touch, we have Dr. Vin Gupta, who leads Midas Health with a fact-based scientific approach, bringing in real expertise. In contrast, on Fox, they've got this guy, Dr. Mark Siegel, who just spews so much ridiculous dear leader propaganda. Kim Jong-un in North Korea is jealous. I want to show you what went down on state regime media.
You want to know what really gets under Donald Trump's skin? It's not political opponents. It's not investigations. It's two people who refuse to shut up, Jimmy Kimmel and Whoopi Goldberg. And in 2024 and 2025, they absolutely destroyed him on live television in ways that had him spiraling for months. Let's start with October 2024, because this is when things got absolutely wild. Trump was at a campaign rally in Reading, Pennsylvania, while Hurricane Milton was devastating Florida, by the way.
Trump welcomes Viktor Orban to the White House while the country is falling apart. Yeah, that's where we're at. The airports are canceling flights because the government is shut down. People don't know if they can buy groceries next week. And the president is rolling out the red carpet for a guy who worships Putin and wants to keep buying Russian oil. You can't make this up. Viktor Orban flies in from Budapest, the world is burning, and Trump's like, hey man, grab a Diet Coke, let's talk about sanctions. The government is in the longest shutdown in U.S. history, and the guy responsible for it thinks hosting Hungary's mini dictator is top priority. Millions of federal workers aren't getting paid. SNAP recipients are checking their cards to see if food money is coming. But Trump's schedule says, hang with Orban, maybe call Putin next. He even told reporters, there's always a chance I'll meet with Putin. Always a chance. Yeah, there's also a chance you could meet with Congress and reopen the government, Donnie. Try that for once. And while this circus is happening, New York City just made history. Zohran Mamdani is the new mayor, the first Muslim and South Asian ever to lead the city. The guy gives a fiery speech, looks right at the camera and says, "Donald Trump, since I know you're watching, I have 4 words for you. Turn the volume up." The crowd goes wild. And you know Trump, he can't handle that.
How you? It's us. He's not going to, say, "Oh, you're with a white guy. I'm going to keep you from being deported." No, he's going to deport you and put the white guy with someone else. The man is out there.
He's also,
Before I do that, just a reminder, hit subscribe on the Midas Touch YouTube channel right now. State regime media known as Fox is going after us. Donald Trump is going after us. Corporate News was going after us. And now we're leading the way of all independent media. Thanks to your help, we're trying to hit 6 million subscribers this month. You may think you're subscribed, but you may not really be subscribed. So make sure you hit subscribe now on this YouTube channel. All right, Laura Ingraham with Dr. Mark Siegel. Watch what Ingraham says here. Here, play this clip.
Look, there was a moment where, again, social media goes crazy and the left is going crazy after totally deep sixing any concern about Biden for 4 years. And they went crazy because at one point today, when Rubio was talking, President Trump had his eyes closed for, a few seconds. It seemed like a few seconds. And but they went crazy. Like, he's sleeping during meetings. Like, your reaction tonight?
I think he seems extremely sharp, and I think this whole thing is a bait and switch. They don't like that he's going after the auto pen stuff because Biden doesn't look like he even knew that he was signing with an auto pen, let alone what he was signing.
Yeah. And instead of talking about the hurricane, he spent his time attacking The View hosts. He called them really dumb people and singled out Whoopi Goldberg specifically. "I have hired Whoopi to work for me as a comedian," Trump said at the rally. "Her act was filthy, dirty, and disgusting." The next day, The View hosts walked onto their set to Christina Aguilera's hit song, Dirty. Yeah, they trolled him with the exact word he used, and then Whoopi Goldberg went for the throat. "I was filthy, and I stand on that fact. I have always been filthy."
Mike, I just want to point out that none of those things were done without permission. Everybody knew it was happening. This, nobody knew when it was happening. Nobody knows how it's happening. You say that it's being paid for by other people, but it's always going to come down to the people. The people are always going to end up paying something. So I don't understand why you don't get that people are saying, wait a minute. Nobody asked. I don't remember asking for a ballroom.
Right. And also to say that Obama put in a basketball court is like saying, "Oh, should we do bath fit?"
New York, the city that gave him everything, just elected a progressive who told him to turn the volume up. And you can tell it hurts. He can't stand that the city moved on. The guy's sitting in the White House watching coverage of Mamdani's win like an ex stalking their old flame on Instagram. Oh, she's dating progress now? She's thriving? Terrible person. Here's the thing. Every time you think Trump's hit rock bottom, he finds a new basement. Hosting Orban while the government collapses beneath him isn't strategy, it's self-parody. He's doing victory laps in front of dictators while millions of Americans are grounded, literally and financially. The planes can't take off, the paychecks can't clear, but sure, let's have a photo op with the guy who called the EU the enemy.
I think he's extremely sharp. Okay. Then Laura Ingraham says, "We all know that Donald Trump doesn't sleep. He's a beast. He's a machine. And don't we all just close our eyes during meetings? Isn't this normal?" To which Dr. Siegel goes, "This is what Thomas Edison did. Trump's like Edison." Okay, here, play this clip.
Well, we all know that he doesn't sleep. I'm not a big sleeper either. So, I, on occasion, I close my eyes if someone's talking for too long, I admit it. But big deal. I mean, the results speak for themselves. What President Trump does on a daily basis. If you sleep 3 hours or 4 hours a night, you're probably going to close your eyes, whether you're 79 or 49. I don't think that matters.
Yeah, President Trump, Thomas Edison believed in the 10-minute nap, by the way. What would they say? We wouldn't have electricity, right?
Oh, my goodness. Well, Dr. Siegel, we will continue to see them fixate on this after everything they did to cover for Joe.
And you can see that the Midas Touch Network and our reporting about Donald Trump's physical and mental deterioration is clearly getting in the head of state regime media propagandists like Laura Ingraham and this Dr. Mark Siegel. Because here's what Dr. Siegel goes,
"And you knew that when you hired me," Goldberg said, looking directly at the camera. "I headlined Babe at your casino, which I might have continued to play had you not run it into the ground. How dumb are you? You hired me 4 times. Let me repeat that for the people in the back. Trump hired her 4 times, knew exactly what her act was like, and then decades later complained about it to score political points. Goldberg exposed him as either a liar or an idiot, probably both, but she wasn't done. You didn't know what you were getting? How dumb are you? She asked again. Then she dropped the real bomb. This is what irritated him, not what's going on. Hurricanes, all kind of stuff going on in our country, but we irritated him to the point where he had to admit he does watch the show, something we all knew.
Well, I just felt like, you know what? All of that mishigas about we're concerned about our children, and not a peep out of anybody. Not the evangelicals, not the mothers against whatever. None of us.
Rubio,
and I just thought, so that's okay with you, but somebody who's encouraging your kid to read is not.
Right.
It freaked me out.
On Sunday, he sat up in bed and posted, "The NFL has to get rid of that ridiculous-looking new kickoff rule. How can they make such a big and sweeping change so easily and quickly?" It's at least as dangerous as the normal kickoff, and looks like hell. Sissy football is bad for America and bad for the NFL.
So they keep on asking, why is he having an MRI? This is just what executives do. Here, play this clip.
They're going, oh, why is he having an MRI? Well, because that's, by the way, what executives do now. They have MRIs of the heart. Dr. Fuster at Sinai is doing them on a lot of people as screening tests. And he had some leg swelling. They went after that, so he had an MRI. Looks normal. But Biden, by comparison, was not normal. He had medical problems. He had prostate cancer. He had cognitive problems.
It's actually not what executives do. May I just show you the Midas Touch reporting? Because we have real, qualified, objective doctors on the Midas Touch Network. Here's what Dr. Vin Gupta told me. So here you go, Dr. Siegel. Why don't you take a look at this? Here, play this clip.
I had a chance to speak to a lot of radiology colleagues at the best academic institutions in the country over the last 24 hours because, I want to make sure that we're getting the very best expertise across specialties for Midas and Midas Health. No one is aware of getting an MRI of the torso, which is what the results that were summarized in the physician's note that Carolyn Levitt read out.
Before we go further, make sure you subscribe because we're documenting every moment of resistance that mainstream media is trying to memory hole. Hit that notification bell. Trump had spent years claiming he never watched The View. But Goldberg just proved he not only watches it religiously, he gets so triggered by it that he can't help himself from bringing it up at campaign rallies during natural disasters. Her co-host Sunny Hostin joined in with one of the most savage takedowns I've ever heard. Donald Trump, I want to thank you for personally telling so many lies and committing so many alleged crimes and providing us with material on a daily basis. You help us do our jobs, and I'm so appreciative. She then added, I admit, I may not have spent as much time in a courtroom as you have.
It's us. He's not going to, say, oh, you're with a white guy, I'm going to keep you from being deported. No, he's going to deport you and put the white guy with someone else. The man is out there.
He's also,
Today, Caitlin Collins from CNN asked Trump whether he plans to pardon Epstein's right-hand woman, Ghislaine Maxwell, and whereas he's usually, very quick to weigh in bigly on this type of thing, for this one, suddenly even-tempered and even deferential.
The Supreme Court is back in session. They rejected today an appeal by Ghislaine Maxwell to overturn her conviction. That means her only chance at getting out of prison is a pardon from you. Is that something you're open to doing?
Who are we talking about?
Ghislaine Maxwell.
I haven't heard the name in so long. I can say this, that I'd have to take a look at it. I'll look at it. I have a lot of people have asked me for pardons. I call him Puff Daddy, has asked me for a pardon.
She was convicted of child sex trafficking.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have to take a look at it. I have to ask DOJ.
Oh, yeah. Ask DOJ and get back to us, please. We'd love to.
It doesn't exist. They had justified getting an MRI of the torso for primary screening of some sort of medical process because he's older. And, that doesn't exist. I'm not aware, my colleagues across the spectrum in radiology are not aware of that type of screening process. You just don't do it. And I think the fact that they reported only the cardiovascular and abdominal findings is odd. Why? Did he get a full body MRI because that's in vogue amongst a certain subsegment of society, and they just reported the cardiac and the abdominal findings? Okay, then why did they leave out everything else? Did they just get a torso MRI? Why? There is no clinical guideline that exists. And again, these are the most credentialed radiologists in the country. I challenge anybody to find a group of folks that is more credentialed and more accomplished and knows, what to do and when to do MRIs than the folks I've spoken with. No one is aware of any type of screening guideline to say, yes, as you age, get an MRI of the heart and of your abdomen.
To which Dr. Siegel on Fox says, this is a disgrace. We don't need to see Donald Trump passing cognitive tests. He does it every day. Here, play this clip.
So this is a disgrace because we don't need to see President Trump passing cognitive tests. As you just said, he passes one every single day, every single moment, going in and out of press conferences. I've never seen anything like it, actually.
Hey, Dr. Siegel, paging Dr. Siegel. It's Donald Trump who's out there every day talking about, I aced this cognitive exam, I aced that cognitive exam, okay? It's very weird that you're taking those cognitive exams over and over again. Now, talking about very weird.
Which got massive applause because Trump has been in court constantly facing criminal and civil cases. Now let's go back even further, because Whoopi has been calling out Trump's nonsense since 2011. Remember when Trump was pushing the racist birther conspiracy about Barack Obama? Whoopi had him on The View that year, and she didn't hold back. In October 2024, Joe Rogan claimed on his podcast that when Trump appeared on The View in 2015, all the hosts loved him and gave him big hugs. Whoopi fact-checked this lie in real time on her show. It was 2011, 4 years before he announced he was running. That's the first thing they got wrong, Goldberg said. Then she played the actual clip from 2011 where Trump was pushing birther nonsense, and you can see Whoopi sitting there with a look of pure skepticism. When Trump claimed Obama's birth certificate was fake, Whoopi exploded. I think that's the biggest pile of dog mess I've heard in ages. It's not because he's black. Trump tried to deny it, and Whoopi called him out right to his face on live television in 2011.
And the other insane thing is that when people are going to go to their meetings with the judge, the meetings that they're supposed to go to, when they're listening to what the hell, what?
I love when Sonny passes notes.
We don't know if Trump used an auto pen to part. It was a joke.
Yeah. We don't know if Trump used an auto pen to
part. Come on.
But we do know that he didn't know who that crypto guy was.
Well, I'm sorry. The hardest thing about this job now is no one understands nuance. When you hear a joke, when somebody's fooling around, when they're not saying something specific, especially on this show. I'm very specific when I'm pointing stuff out. When I'm making jokes, you know when I'm making jokes. This is ridiculous.
Whoopi Goldberg said, would you participate in a movie? She made some movie on basketball. This was before I ran for politics. She said, oh, you're so great. If you ever ran for president, you'd win. This is Whoopi Goldberg. You don't hear that? She said, I'm making a movie. Would you be in it? I said, in what capacity? Just a walk-on. You're so great. Would you do I did a walk-on for Whoopi Goldberg. Now she says, I refuse to mention his name. You know what? Politics can do strange things to demented people. No, I've hired Whoopi to work for me as a comedian before this stuff, and a long time ago. And I went. And, you know, I'm not particularly shy about what I hear. Her mouth was so foul. Every word out of her mouth was like the F word, this. I was with a group of people, like sort of nice people, and we had to leave. She was so filthy dirty, disgusting. Half the place left. I said I'd never hire her again, but she was so dirty. Every word was filthy dirty, and I left. And then I see her sitting about, oh, Whoopi, oh, what a loser she is. But I watched the way they ask questions, and it's like, you know, they're on the same, like they're partners in this crime that's being committed. Kamala, again.
Take a look at FBI Director Kash Patel, whose qualifications before being an FBI director had nothing ever to do with the FBI. He was a podcaster, a right-wing podcaster, whose whole shtick was release the Epstein files, and now he's part of the PPP, the Pedo Protection Program. And so Kash Patel is asked by Laura Ingraham, and she goes, you know, we've heard these stories about like you taking the private jet paid for by the taxpayers to pick up your girlfriend and fly her around to different events and gallivant around this country. If a Democrat did this, I'd be mad, Kash. So, Kash, can you set the record straight? And Kash Patel's like, I should take the with Kash eyes. I should take the private jet. I don't know if I should do the eye thing. He goes, I do take the private jet to pick up my girlfriend. Why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I? And Laura Ingram's like, ha 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 ha, so funny. I mean, could you imagine if a Democrat did this? And by the way, the previous FBI director, Christopher Wray, was a Republican. He was Trump's guy. They act like this guy was a Democrat. The guy's a Republican too. Here, play this clip.
The Democrats are also, Mr. Director, supposedly going to investigate your use of the FBI jet, because they're claiming you've commandeered it for personal joyrides, going to a wrestling event, I guess, for your girlfriend. Is that true? And if so, you know, if the Biden team did something like that, if it was true, you know, I'd probably be hitting them tonight on television. But I thought I'd give you a chance to respond to that drive-by.
Yeah. It's simple. The FBI director, all FBI directors are required users of the FBI plane. They don't let me fly commercially. But my predecessors wasted millions of dollars because they were too lazy to drive an extra 20 minutes and go to Andrews Air Force Base. They used DC Reagan National as their personal hub, costing the taxpayer $4 million. I shut that policy off and mandated the use of government airfields. I've also used the airplane less than my prior two predecessors. And yes, I'm entitled to a personal life just like my other agency had counterparts with their partners. So do I support my girlfriend? Absolutely. And do I take trips with her? Absolutely. But when they're talking about raid jackets and Velcro and FBI plane use, they are not talking about the facts, because they know this FBI is succeeding in ways prior leadership failed. And those cronies will always stick together and, of course, band together with their enemies to come in and attack us. And our
Years before most people took his political ambitions seriously, she saw through him from day one. Fast forward to November 2024, Trump wins re-election, and when The View hosts came back on air, Whoopi refused to even say his name. So what happened last night? She asked her co-hosts, never once saying Trump. She later told them, he's the president. I'm still not going to say his name. That's not going to change. That's not passive resistance. That's active defiance. She's acknowledging he won, but refusing to give him the satisfaction of hearing his name from her lips. But here's where it gets even better. In November 2025, during a discussion about Trump pardoning crypto billionaire Changpeng Zhao, Whoopi made a joke about Trump using an auto pen, an automatic signature machine. The joke landed with the audience, everyone laughed, standard late-night talk show stuff. Then producers handed her a note on live television trying to fact-check her joke. A joke. They wanted her to read a legal clarification saying they didn't know if Trump actually used an auto pen. Whoopi looked at the blue card, read it, and then absolutely lost it. What the hell? What? It was a joke. She literally ripped up the note on live television and threw it. The hardest thing about this job now is no one understands nuance. You know when you hear a joke, when somebody is fooling around, when they're not saying something specific. Especially on this show. I'm very specific when I'm pointing stuff out. When I'm making jokes, you know when I'm making jokes. This is ridiculous. The audience went wild. Because she was right. ABC was so terrified of Trump's threats that they were trying to fact-check obvious jokes on a comedy talk show. Drop a like on this video if you think Whoopi was absolutely right to rip up that note. Now let's talk about Jimmy Kimmel, because his story in 2025 is even more intense. In September, FCC Chairman Brendan Carr, Trump's handpicked guy, threatened ABC with license revocations if they didn't punish Kimmel. ABC caved and suspended his show for almost a week. When Kimmel came back on September 23, 2025, he delivered one of the most powerful monologues in late-night history. The audience gave him a several-minute standing ovation before he even started talking. Fighting through tears, Kimmel said, "You understand that it was never my intention to make light of the murder of a young man. I don't think there's anything funny about it." But then he pivoted to the real issue, free speech. I've had the opportunity to meet and spend time with comedians and talk show hosts from countries like Russia, countries in the Middle East, who tell me they would get thrown in prison for making fun of those in power, and worse than being thrown in prison. They know how lucky we are here. Our freedom to speak is what they admire most about this country. And that's something I'm embarrassed to say I took for granted until they pulled my friend Steven off the air and tried to coerce the affiliates who run our show in the cities that you live in to take my show off the air. That's not legal. That's not American. That is un-American, and it is so dangerous. Trump responded within an hour on Truth Social. "I can't believe ABC fake news gave Jimmy Kimmel his job back. The White House was told by ABC that his show was canceled." Kimmel fired back the next night, calling Trump an 80s movie-style bully and breaking down Trump's threats sentence by sentence. Only Donald Trump would try to prove he wasn't threatening ABC by threatening ABC. Kimmel said, "Here's what mainstream media isn't telling you. Kimmel's return episode drew 6.3 million viewers. Record-breaking numbers. His monologue got over 20 million views on YouTube, making it his most watched monologue of all time. Trump's attempt to cancel him backfired so spectacularly that Kimmel became more popular than ever. But Trump wasn't done. He demanded NBC fire Jimmy Fallon too. And Kimmel told his audience, 'I hope that if that happens, or if there's even any hint of that happening, you will be 10 times as loud as you were this week. We have to speak out against this.'" What connects Whoopi and Kimmel isn't just that they're both on ABC, it's that they both refuse to be intimidated. When ABC tried to make Whoopi read legal disclaimers about jokes, she ripped up the note on live TV. When Trump tried to get Kimmel fired, he came back stronger and turned it into a free speech movement. Trump called the View hosts dumb. Whoopi proved she's smart enough to expose his hypocrisy about hiring her 4 times. Trump said Kimmel had no talent. Kimmel's return became the most watched episode in his show's history. Before you go, subscribe to America Facticity, because we're documenting every moment of resistance they don't want you remembering. Hit that bell icon. Here's the bottom line. Trump can't handle being made fun of. He spent time at a campaign rally during a natural disaster complaining about talk show hosts. He threatened broadcast licenses. He celebrated when he thought Kimmel was canceled. He hired Whoopi 4 times knowing exactly what her act was, then complained about it decades later. And both of them, they're still on the air, still calling him out, and he's still obsessed with them. That's not losing, that's winning.